Welcome to beautiful Madrid, one of Spain's most popular cities. This year, Vital Options International took on its 7th year providing on-site coverage of the signature gathering, the Essential ESMO Congress. The European Society of Medical Oncology combined the efforts of the most important European oncology professionals with the aim of improving prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and the care of cancer patients. And the timing could not have been better. From new therapies and cutting-edge technologies to the role of the patient advocacy organizations, this ESMO gathering represented the finest that the oncology community has to offer. Vital Options was there to capture the highlights, the insights, and the stories behind the science from oncology's most insightful thought leaders and most accomplished advocates. This is how Vital Options International is truly generating global cancer conversations.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm the former director of EORTC, a unique pan-European clinical research organization in Europe. I was graduated as a medical doctor in 1974. At that time, announcing to a patient a diagnosis of cancer was a death sentence. And I decided to dedicate that part of my professional life to the improvement of survival of patients with cancer. We have made tremendous progress in the last 45 years. Those progress do not come from the sky. And I am very thankful to almost 100,000 patients who trusted us clinical investigators, who accepted to participate in EORTC clinical trials to reach where we are now today. Today, cancer is no longer a death sentence, and as you may know, we have made tremendous progress in testicular cancer, in Hodgkin's disease, in breast cancer. There are still some cancer much more difficult to treat, but I'm convinced that in the next 5 to 10 years, we will again make tremendous progress, thanks to the patient involvement and empowerment. Now, I'm no longer the Director General, I am Director Special Project because I decided to dedicate the last part of my professional life to survivorship. And here it's important to maybe make a parenthesis of definition because sometimes there are misconceptions about rehabilitation and survivorship issue. As much as I support and ask for rehabilitation from day one of diagnosis to help the patient having to go through an ordeal to get treated, as much I think there are different issues when we doctors, we tell to a patient, you are cured, I don't want to see you anymore to do all of those extra tests, live your life, get back to a normal life. That's what I think we should call survivorship issue. And at that time, there are new issues that did not exist when I was graduated as a medical doctor. Nobody really cared about, do you get a job, do you get a promotion, do you buy a home, do you get an enterprise? I will give you an example. If you are 29-year-old, finishing business school, very entrepreneur, very successful, very ambitious in the right way of the wording, and 2 months later, you are diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease or testis cancer. Are you going to a bank or an insurance asking for a loan to buy an enterprise or a home? I think we should not ask to the bank, an insurer who are extremely risk-averse, to put in the same package everybody. And that's why I think so much that we have to distinguish what we ask for and to who we ask it for. And therefore, the concept of initial rehabilitation is crucial, fundamental if we want to cure, and have a better life, but also what we ask to a banker or an insurance or to the society, to the government, is different at 5 years, for example. Now, what we have done within EURTC, now that we face those societal challenges, is to create an EURTC Cancer Survivorship Program with research and dedicated research, for example, on a EU protocol, year update data for long-term follow-up. Indeed, we are in a privileged situation because for 50 years we do clinical trials, and so we have large, very well-structured database with clinical data. But now it is crucial to not only ask late toxicity or secondary tumor, but also fertility question, job question, loan question, and so on. So it is a whole new area of research which is opening in front of us, taking the advantage and the benefit of having structured database with patients who have been entered in clinical trials, but also creating partnership, for example, with national registry to try to see what is the extent of the problem. We have also, I have hired a legal person, a lawyer from Paris Descartes, to study the legal framework, because we want to have a pan-European map of what is the challenge in the different pan-European countries. In France, there is a very good law, le droit à l'oubli, which means that an insurer cannot ask questions or taking into account a previous cancer 5 years for a child and 10 years after the diagnosis for an adult. I think this is a tremendous positive law. And that's why I went to Paris to take a French lawyer to try to see how we can do a pan-European map and extend this French law to all European countries and to change the legal framework. And the third approach that we did in EURTC is to create, since 2014, an European Cancer Survivorship Summit, which is a meeting taking place in Brussels every 2 years, and where we discuss with patients, with health authorities, with all involved partners, the issue, and particularly the medical issue, psychological issue, but also societal issue of cancer survivors. So the solution will not come overnight. We have to be patient, going step by step. But the idea is to create, now that we had empowered the patient initially to participate in clinical trials, which lead to tremendous clinical progress, now we have to empower again the patient on different purposes. It's to make sure that we get the data on jobs, on insurance, on loan, and so on, in order to change the pan-European legal framework and to make sure that there is a life once you are diagnosed as being cured of cancer. Thank you very much.